Hi, I'm Larry Nix with Defining Moments, the podcast. This is our very first podcast program, and I'm excited to invite you in. Our guest today is phenomenal. She is the person of Lauryl Joyner, who is Miss Mississippi Volunteer. So I wanted to make sure that I give you a sneak preview, invite you in, invite your friends in, invite your family members in for our very first podcast. Come on, join me now.
I'm Josh Trim with Pennington & Trim Alarm Services. We firmly believe in offering the latest and greatest in camera and access control technology. With the Alarm.com platform, we're able to offer a user-friendly and fully integrated service to do just that.
We're a light that shines your way. Let us in and you will find security and peace of mind. Go on and keep on now.
Welcome to Defining Moments with Larry Nix, where our focus is touching the lives of people with the spirit of hope for life. Hi, I am so excited that you've joined us today on Defining Moments with Larry Nix, the podcast. This is our very first podcast, and I am so excited. I am so anxious, and I am delighted that you've joined me. And what a perfect guest to have as our inaugural guest for Defining Moments with Larry Nix, the podcast. I want to remind you that you can join us every Wednesday across many platforms, digital platforms, from 11 to 12 p.m. every Wednesday from 11 to 12 p.m. Central Time. And then you can join us every Tuesday and Thursday from 11 to 8 to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time across a lot of radio platforms, social media platforms. And if you're in the Jackson, Mississippi metropolitan area, then it's on 104.3 FM. We're in the studios in Pearl, Mississippi on Ignite TV and other ministries and other platforms, and we're excited to come into your home. So thank you for welcoming us in. I'm not going to meander. I have a lot of people to thank, and so over the course of the program and over the course of the next couple of weeks, I'll thank those people that have helped us get to this place, whether it is Chip Muskelly, whether it is Cal Reno, whether it is Chip Harper, whether it is my wife, Carla, Dominique, Javis, Alexia, my grandchildren, and particularly the staff of this radio station, of the studio here, Pearl Broadcasting Network, Frank Hutton, who is the general manager, and Crystal Thomas, and Kim Steinbrink, and Devontae Anthony, all of those people. You get in trouble when you start calling names because you don't want to leave out anybody. But these are the people that heard my vision, saw my vision, and helped the vision come to fruition. So we're in this podcast set because many people believed in me, and I am so grateful. I would be arrogant, it would be prideful, it would be narcissistic of me just to start this program without at least thanking people to help me get to this point. So it's going to be an exciting opportunity for me to bring on guests to talk about their journeys. Our goal is to share with you those persons that have experienced life from various vantage points, and they want to share it in a form of a testimony. I'm going to get started. I'm excited to have my inaugural guest today, Lauryl Joyner. Lauryl is a 19-year-old native of Meridian, Mississippi, a sophomore at the University of Southern Mississippi, where she studies strategic communications and marketing. She plans to become a sideline reporter for the NFL. I told her before the program, boy, this is good training for her. At USM, she was chosen Freshman of the Year and a homecoming maid, and is a member of the Honors College. On July the 6th, 2024, Lauryl was crowned the state's fourth ever Miss Mississippi Volunteer in Tupelo, Mississippi. The Miss Mississippi Volunteer pageant is a state licensee of the National Miss Volunteer America pageant, which is based in Tennessee and seeks to empower young women across the nation through educational scholarships and extraordinary opportunities. Lauryl joined the ranks of three previous Mississippi women, all of whom went on to place in the top national competition. I am so delighted. I am so honored to have with me Lauryl Joyner on the very first podcast, Defining Moments with Larry Nix. Lauryl, welcome to Defining Moments.
Good morning. I'm so excited.
I am
You keep
excited.
saying you're honored, but I'm walking on cloud 9 right now. I don't think you realize how tickled I am to be here.
Well, I got to tell you what, to be perfectly honest, this has been 3 years. Well, really, it's been about 10 years in the making. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very strategic in terms of my planning.
Yeah.
And I said, Lord, give me the people. I'd like to, at least for those people that helped me get to this place, I'd like to have them on as my first guest. But, when you're dealing with technology and delays and parts coming in,
right.
Then, sometimes it doesn't go as you planned it to go.
Absolutely.
But I believe that this program was supposed to happen today, and I believe that you were supposed to be my first guest on this program. So you serve as Miss Mississippi Volunteer.
Yes.
For those that may not be familiar with the platform, and of course for those that would like to learn more about you and your platform, they can go on to the website, the Miss Mississippi Volunteer website, learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
Because this is not necessarily an academic program. It's more of a personal testimonial program. And if they'd like to learn and follow you, they can follow you on your Facebook page, which is?
It is. You can find me at Miss Mississippi Volunteer, or you can find my personal account at Lauryl Joyner. So
great.
Whatever you're looking for, you can find it.
So tell, for those that are not familiar with Miss Mississippi Volunteer Pageant, tell us what it is.
So the organization is really rooted around scholarship, education, responsibility, volunteerism, and empowerment. So really it's that full, well-rounded woman in today's society and what that comes with, because you compete in interview and talent while you're also doing evening gown and then fitness. It really is the full package, but it's geared around opportunities for women and also community. And I think that the two go hand in hand to create success. And I was thinking about it on my drive over this morning, the amount of success that they received on the stage, placing top 5, but also the success that they received after the crown, because it's really rooted in the journey and not the arrival of, I competed at Miss Volunteer America. It is a lifelong investment.
So how did you get interested in this?
Yeah, so I did not start competing in pageants until I was 16 years old. So I really
last year?
Yeah,
I'm
I really got like a late jump into pageantry. But I grew up a competitive dancer, and then I love to talk. Could talk all day. Now, talking on a stage versus behind doors. I know.
I've been accused of that.
And I think that's why we'll get along.
Yeah.
But talking on a stage was very foreign to me, but I could talk my head off behind closed doors.
Really?
And so that was very much a learned behavior, and it kind of just a testament to where God has brought me, really. But it's crazy to see how every season of life has led me to here. I competed in other organizations, and then this past summer I competed for Miss Mississippi Volunteer for the first time, and it really was a result of rejection of a closed door that I thought would be my reality, that I expected to be a dream, come to fruition. And it has led me to God people, and what would have just been a mere good thing turned into a God thing. And I've seen evidence and fruit of that labor the entirety of my year, as I only have probably a month left in my reign. It's crazy to see the full circleness of it.
I'm Josh Trim with Pennington and Trim Alarm Services. We firmly believe in offering the latest and greatest in camera and access control technology. With the Alarm.com platform, we're able to offer a user-friendly and fully integrated service to do just that.
We're a light that shines your way. Let us in and you will find security and peace of mind.
Hey, my name is Kyle Reno, Senior Pastor at Cross Gates Baptist Church. Here's a defining moment from this last Sunday.
I would stop this morning and listen and say on behalf of God the Father that He sees your hard work. He sees your labor. He sees your love. The scripture, I can't even unpack all of it, shows us that you often rise early, go to sleep late. that the work never stops and the work is always changing, right, ladies in the house? It's never the same every season. It's ever changing. We see how you watch over. I'm saying it in faith too, we see how you watch over the work that's been entrusted to you. And the work that you are working may seem unceasing and not always amounting to much. But collectively, God sees every detail, every hard day. So listen, we thank you for your diligence. Mamas specifically don't often get breaks or off shifts, rarely come, especially in the early years. And in the grind of it all, you are greatly glorifying God. We will, listen to me, rise up and bless you this morning.
Hey, thank you for taking some time to listen to that defining moment from this last week. If you'd like to listen to the sermon in its entirety, you can go to crossgates.org, and we would love to have you visit with us any week on any of our Sunday experiences or our midweek opportunities. I'd encourage you this week to take some time and really think about what moments right now are defining your destination. God has more in store for you. Hope to see you soon.
You say you love to talk, particularly
Yes.
not necessarily initially on stage in public, but you talk your head off behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I believe that God uses your pain to propel you into your purpose.
Yep.
For instance, I'm on camera a lot now.
Yeah.
I'm on radio station a lot now. I do a lot of public speaking. I do, all over the country. And the Lord has blessed me to do that. But Laura, when I was young, I had a speech impediment.
Really?
I stuttered profusely. And I mean, it took me a long time to even get one sentence out. I would kick things and kick people and stammer and spit. And so my mom and others who loved me, and I even asked the Lord to take it away from me. And he did. One morning I woke up and I didn't have that speech impediment
Really?
again.
Just like that?
And it's interesting how, but then again, I utilize that story because I find myself in this place, in this industry, that I'm in front of the camera, I'm in front of the mic, and people say, boy, this is where you were made to be.
Yeah.
But it provides an opportunity for me to tell my story.
Yeah. They don't see where you came from until they sit down with you, right, and hear that.
So do you have that same opportunity to share your journey for those that may not know your journey because, you're constantly in front of people. Yeah. You're constantly in the community serving. Does that provide an opportunity for you to share your story, for you to peel the onion back and say, let me share who I really am?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there can be a lot of stereotypes that come with wearing a crown and a sash, right? They don't see where you've come from. And similar to what you were saying earlier is I took a dual enrollment public speaking class in high school, and all I had to do, it was online, all I had to do is speak in front of 8 people giving a speech. And so naturally I did my family members, and I remember tears streaming down my face having to do that in front of my family, people that I can have an everyday conversation with, but the pressure of having to perform really got to me. So I don't give myself enough grace for how far that I've come, but it definitely gives me that level of peeling back because, the crown lasts a year and my identity is not rooted in that. My identity is rooted in Christ, and I'm able to just use this as a mere platform for the story that God's given me, because I would be living out this story regardless of if it came out with a crown and sash as the outcome. So I think that you wouldn't know that I worked blue collar this past summer, or that for nationals, you're paying for hair and makeup for an entire week. That's a large sum of money. You wouldn't know that I've worked all spring semester doing proms and beauty reviews to pay for my own hair and makeup. It's little things like that. Or when I won homecoming queen at my high school, my people that I thought were my friends shared their negative reactions to me winning. They videoed their reactions to me winning and posted it all over social media. You don't see those little things that build me into who I am. And it's cool to build those relationships of like, oh, there really is a whole lot more to her. And so much of it is credited to who God has been for her and to the opportunities that he has opened for me. Really, all of it is credited to him. And I'm thankful that I do have a platform to shed light on that.
So how do you, Laura, how do you deal with the negativity, the pushback, the stereotype that, or she's just superficial?
Yeah.
This is narcissistic of
Yeah.
her. This is very how do you, knowing that that's really not who you are, but it's an opportunity for you to use this as a platform to share your ministry.
Absolutely.
How do you gently?
Yeah. I think that it has definitely been growth,
Okay.
of course, and it's also never an arrival. Same thing with confidence. You never arrive
that's
at your
good.
confidence
Yeah.
journey, right? You know, you might need confidence walking the schools of at your high school hallways.
Sure.
But you also need confidence walking in on the first day of the job, or confidence when you're a first-time parent. And if I've learned anything, it's one, being rooted in Christ, because if my identity is found in what other people say or think of me, well, then I'm always going to be seeking the validation of others and never
Oh, wow.
come to true fulfillment.
wow.
So I think, was necessary for me to go through that stuff in the past and even in today, because it makes me rely on Jesus even more, because that's not something that I can handle on my own. But I've also learned through that when your calling is higher, your capacity will be higher. And maybe that's your capacity to do a
Okay,
lot.
that's
maybe
one of
that's
those-
your capacity to handle what people
Yeah.
are throwing at you.
Yeah.
But that has kind of treaded the entirety of me sitting here today.
You said something shaking. You said when your capacity is higher, when your calling is higher, your capacity is higher. Extrapolate that a little bit more. Break that up a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah. This year it's really come to fruition this year that I've learned it. I've always lived it, but you don't always see it. You don't always really understand it. And whether it was going from 5 college classes in a day straight to an appearance, straight to practice for this, and then studying, you know, in the physical aspect of what people can see, that has been my capacity reaching my calling, because
Wow.
I've been able to handle it. But even in what people think or say about me, I'm able to handle it to a different extent, because there's more for me out there.
Wow.
It doesn't just end here. It doesn't just end when I cried the entire night after winning homecoming queen, because that's such a big deal in high school, right? It didn't end there. It kept going.
Listen, I sense that someone is watching, someone is listening, someone is streaming, and you just struck a chord with them. I want you to look at that camera, and I want you to encourage them, because they feel unworthy, and they have bought into the negativity. They have bought into the propaganda that they're unworthy, they're too much, and they'll never be able to reach any appreciable goal.
Yeah.
I want you just to encourage them now.
Yeah. That's exactly where I was my senior year of high school. It was hard because I'm a people person. You naturally want the approval of people. You naturally want to be liked or reach that validation, right? And at my senior year, it was the lowest of lows. Like I said, I had the homecoming queen episode. I would be in group chats where I wasn't included in the plans, and I'd be the only one. And that's a hard pill to swallow when that's never been your reality. Or I would sit in a volleyball locker room where the entirety of my team was telling me that it was all about Laurel. It was a Laurel show, but really they didn't see the late nights that I was staying out to practice on my own, or making my dad come with me after a long day of work to throw balls for me to hit. They didn't see those extra reps. And so it just felt like all my hard work was in vain. There was nothing greater. And really, I needed that, because I wasn't relying on the invite to go eat after a volleyball game, or I wasn't relying on people, right? People of the world, people of sinful nature, people like me that fall short. I put my full reliance in Jesus, and in hindsight, I can be grateful for that, and that's something that I can look back on fondly, because I know that I needed it. But in the moment, you don't understand that. You don't see the full picture. But it led my life from what could have been just a good thing, following my friends to the same college, turned into a God thing. And I went to a college all by myself that I never would have imagined I'd gone to, and I wouldn't have gone to if I hadn't walked through those hardships or walked through that time.
Yeah.
And even through my I've gained community going to the college in the city that I did, but I've gained so much. I don't think that I would be here today had I not gone through that. And so understanding that there is a greater purpose and thinking long-term fulfillments rather than fillers, because I don't feel sadness or remorse about what I didn't get invited to or the people that talked about this and that about me. But what I do see is the fruit of it now. And so understanding that there is more out there for you and you can handle it because your calling is higher and because your capacity will meet you there.
I said to someone a couple of days ago, I said, your pain is not your destination. You can't allow your storms to define you and think that they're your destination. They're life's learning lessons.
Yes.
And if you learn those lessons, ask the Lord, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to get me to understand? The sooner you learn that lesson, the sooner you're able to move out of the storm. You keep talking about your faith. Did you grow up in an environment that was real strong in your Christian faith of believing in God? And did you grow up in a Christian home?
I'm super blessed. My grandparents are pastors, so my entire family is in ministry.
Okay.
I've gone to the same church my entire life. All of my family goes there. And that is not something you hear every day.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing because I've not only seen them preach it, but I've seen them live it out.
Wow.
I'm the one that goes on family vacations and my grandparents are leaving the trip early because someone in the church is in the hospital.
Wow.
Or we have people joining us at the Thanksgiving table, or we have less of a Christmas celebration because we need to bless another family. And I've just been able to see the fruit of that labor, and I think a lot of times it can be one-sided. And you just see the goodness, but I've seen how even generosity plays a role in it, and that has been such a blessing, and seeing it become my own and not just living out the legacy of my grandparents or my parents that lead the hospitality team, whatever, but creating a legacy of what they've instilled in me and moving that forward.
Our director's putting up some pictures, and you talked about community.
Yes.
And you said that basically this has created a larger community for you. You've gotten to know people.
Absolutely.
And you've got to define platforms and opportunities to volunteer.
Yes.
And to embrace the community as if this platform is not self-serving.
Oh, yeah.
It is not to serve you, but it's provide an opportunity for you to serve. So talk about those opportunities, and you've been able to expand. Have you learned something through this platform that you may not have been sensitive to otherwise?
Yeah, I think it's special when you find organizations that pour just as much into you as you're pouring into them.
Okay.
And that has largely taken part with the Salvation Army and then St. Jude, because we have national partnerships with them. And so the Salvation Army serves every facet, every outlet of our communities that we can imagine. And it has been the people like Jerry Friday or Amy Murray, and even people in Texas, Mr. David, that I have gotten to see their heart posture and it mirror my heart posture, and seeing how it has served them by being the hands and feet of Jesus makes me want to be a part of what they're doing. And so largely it's the examples of people that I've met. But even down to yesterday, I was at I'm from Meridian, and there was a local restaurant that had a profit share with me to benefit St. Jude. Little things like that, and seeing people that care about what you care about. It just pours a lot into you, and it gives me the stamina and the tenacity to keep going. And I think that you just gain a whole lot more by being able to pour into other people than yourself, and it's something you have to experience and dip your toes into.
Yeah, you realize that the world is bigger than your own circumference.
Yes.
You realize that there's more out there than me, myself, and I.
Absolutely.
You talked about community. You talked about your grandparents, you growing up in a faith-filled environment.
Yeah.
So your faith is very important, not just to this platform, but in your life. So are there examples in the Bible that you're more closely aligned with? Is there a personality in the Bible that you're most aligned with?
I think I tread between Mary and Martha.
Really?
And I say that because in the sense of Martha, she was very, let me get this done, check these boxes, productive.
Yes.
And the type A in me can be very bad about going through the motions and, meeting this goal at this deadline. But the Mary in me causes me to slow down
Yeah.
and embrace
Yeah.
the moment that I'm
Yeah.
in and savor it, really. So I would say I teeter-totter between both of them because I think they both have strengths.
Yeah.
But again, it's that constant journey of
Yeah.
never arriving. And so it definitely challenges me and pushes me. But I'm grateful that there is no deadline and there is no goal when it comes to a relationship with Jesus. So
Yeah.
it continues to push
Well, that's
me.
a good point. I see that my producer has pulled up this particular picture, and he has
Yeah.
stayed on this particular picture. So what's going on in this background?
Yes. That is at the Mississippi Children's Museum.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I was a celebrity reader that week, reading to the kids, and it's funny because I, in high school, volunteered there every single week. And so it is so full circle to know that what high school Lauryl was volunteering, cleaning the toys with,
Oh, my
I
goodness.
now get to read to kids and, live on cloud nine, really. And that 16-year-old volunteering every week never would have guessed. Never would have guessed. So it definitely reminds me of where I've come from, and it just centers me around what my real purpose and goals in what I do are.
So, I know that there are other initiatives that you're involved in and that you're very passionate about. Safe driving for kids.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so the Miss Mississippi Volunteer Organization has a partnership with the Mississippi Highway Patrol,
Okay.
Sharing the Drive campaign, which stands for Driving Requires Initiative, Values, and Education, because Mississippi ranks in the top 5 for teen driving fatalities, which
Really?
is really horrible.
Nationwide?
Nationwide. And essentially to combat
That's
that,
unfortunate.
we go into high schools and have these hard conversations with them. And for me, it takes a very personal seat because I lost a friend in a fatal car wreck.
So sorry to hear
Coming
that.
on a year and a half, and someone that I walked the hallways with, sat with at little lunch tables, walked the stage of graduation with, that won't get to go to college and live out his dream life, dream career, have a family of his own, go to t-ball practices, all the things that you dream up when you're a senior in high school. And I've learned that giving them that personal side, that personal perspective, allows them to sit and think, okay, well, what if that was my friend? What if I was in that position? And I always try, safe driving is important, but even more so, it's about getting them to their goals, because if they're not safe driving, they're not going to get to their goals.
Yeah.
And that gives them a little bit of a more personal inflection of how it can get them long term.
Yeah, so it's very personal to you.
Yes.
I share with young people that having a vehicle, getting your first car, I know it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Is meant to have fun in, but also it's a weapon.
Yes.
If you don't know how to utilize it, if you've not been trained, you have to drive in an offensive way, but you have to drive also in a defensive way.
Yes.
And it is ill advised to put someone in the seat, what I would say, of a missile that can change the lives of a family.
Yes.
Because of recklessness, because you're not disciplined, because you're not prepared. It's more than just getting in the vehicle, sitting in the car, and steering the wheel.
Yeah.
You have to be very responsible.
And our generation adds in a whole nother aspect of phones.
Oh,
with
my goodness.
distracted driving.
Texting and
yes,
driving.
because they
and
don't
just
know
the-
reality of learning to drive without a phone right next to them.
Yeah.
Or that notification popping up. And so that is a huge navigation that we've teeter-tottered around, because
Yeah.
you know that it happens and you have to acknowledge it. But I have actually written a children's book
Really?
this year to get to the foundation of
Has it been
children.
published?
It's not been published yet. It's
Well,
in the
when it is
works.
published, you let us know.
I sure
so we
will.
can help promote it.
Yes, I sure will. It's called Drive Safe, Dream Big. And
Drive
so,
safe, dream big.
yes.
All right.
So getting at the foundation of kids so that they have that understanding at a young age of what that looks like to be a safe passenger and a safe driver when they get to age, to combat going backwards. So it takes an offensive route.
So when do you hope to publish the book? This year?
This year.
That's exciting.
Yes.
And the motivation behind that is,
Is
again,
yes, so to get them driving safe, but gets them to those goals. It's a bigger picture than going through the motions of, well, I got to get here at this time and then straight over here in 15 minutes. But it takes them to, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And I think that for me personally, that's a bigger motivation than driving safe, because my mom told me to.
Yeah,
and I know that
good.
resonates with
that's
children.
Great.
And
I love
it's
that.
Comes in handy with my age, because I'm among the same age
Yes.
of students that I'm talking to.
Yes.
I'm not far removed.
I love that. I love that. So for those that are in your generation, the Gen Z generation,
Yes.
what would you tell them about being responsible driving? What would you tell them? And even those that are in high school.
Yeah.
And those that are teetering on getting their license. They're so anxious to get their license.
Yeah.
Or even though those that have gotten their license, it's graduation season at fact.
Yes.
So a lot of parents are going to be gifting their children vehicles. A lot of grandparents are going to be gifting their grandchildren vehicles. So what advice, number one, would you give to the parents, grandparents that are considering gifting? And then what advice would you give to the teenagers, young adults that are receiving? What advice would you give them?
For parents, whoever's giving them a car, I think leading by example. You know, if you're texting and driving, your kids are probably going to do it as well. So, and that comes in the lifestyle. And so sometimes that's a bigger shift or a bigger jump than just going to purchase a car. That is a lot of work behind closed doors, behind the scenes. And then for students, for children that are driving, getting their vehicles, driver's license, one poor decision doesn't have to be followed by another poor decision. So whether that is impaired driving, taking substances, because you do that, you don't have to step in front of the driver's wheel. You have people in your community or in your seat that are willing to step in for you and take that lead, take the reins. And then also, it only takes 30 days to build or break a bad habit or a good habit. So take that initiative, because it affects so much more than just you. It might be that family that you come in contact with on the road. It's so much bigger picture.
Well, what I heard you say, you said lead by example, and monkey see, monkey do. All
right.
Association brings about assimilation. So make sure that you're not hypocritical in asking your children or demanding of your children or anyone else, your husband or wife or the person that you love, quit texting and driving.
Yeah.
Because it only takes seconds.
It's an epidemic.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of epidemic, because, you know, it's just like you're debating on a national stage.
Yeah.
And if you insert your opponent's name, then they're able to respond to you.
Yeah.
You talked about your age group, whether with habits and driving and then them maybe being responsible or irresponsible. There's a national statistic that Gen Z generation, they are leaving the church in droves. They are abandoning the church because they don't feel that it is no longer relevant. Religion is no longer relevant.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? What is your position on that? And do you see that on college campuses that young people are not as passionate about organized religion?
You know, I think that our generation has fallen short of recognizing Jesus as love, because in a generation that craves love, we crave people to pour into us, really root our identity in. We lack a Jesus who claims to be love and who has proven himself to be love. And so we're running from the source of fulfillment that we want. And I don't know that is entirely our faults, because we're not raising ourselves. I think that there's a lot of people that have fallen short of that, whether they've been church hurt or, you know, any kind of contact. We've forgotten that the church is it's not the building and it's not the people. It's what makes the people. And God made his people, and of course we've come short to sin, and sin has infiltrated our world. We'll never live in a perfect world, but understanding what our true goal is, it's not to have that perfect church body that never has a little bit of drama, because you're going to have that in everyday life, whether it be your work life, your friend life, social life, anything. Just taking that with a grain of salt. And it's funny that you say college campus, because I'm in the honors college at Southern Miss, and there's a lot of varying beliefs, and they're exposed to a lot more. And so I've sat in this class for an entire semester with people that think a lot differently than me, believe a lot differently than me. And meanwhile trying to gain education. And so with that, I've taken a bit of a backseat because there's a level of respect that comes with that. But I did and it's kind of been, if I'm being honest, it's kind of eaten at me a little bit because I've been one of the very few in my class that thinks the way that I do or believes the way that I do. And that's hard because I want people to experience the joy and fulfillment that I have in Christ. But this, we do a research project because Honors College is rooted in research. And I did mine on incarceration in prisons. And so, well, that's what the class was on, but mine was like what the role the church plays in prisons, and how the church is being the church in prisons and for incarcerated people. And, you know, it was really rooted in a scripture, Jesus talking about, I was in prison and you visited me, and just how the church can be the hands and feet of Jesus to people of all walks of life and all seasons. And I did that because largely, you know, my relationship with Jesus is the entirety of my life, and it was something that interested me. But we gave a presentation on that in class just last week, so it's very recent. And I knew that, of course, I needed to make a good grade on my project, but I tried to take it a route of ministering to them because that might, you know, I might have sat in a class the entire semester listening to people with different beliefs, different morals, different backgrounds than me, but this was my opportunity to be the light of Jesus. And I had people coming up to me after saying, I've never seen Christianity described that way.
Oh, wow.
And it's because it wasn't about the religion or following the rules or checking the right boxes. It was about the relationship, and the relationship that is rooted in love. And I think that is where we've fallen short of. Being the hands and feet of Jesus is showing them that it's not about the rules. It's not about checking the boxes.
Yeah.
It's not about being that perfect person
Yeah.
or fitting the mold.
Yeah.
It's just about loving people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was crazy to see the shift in perspectives because they said they never heard it described that way.
Wow.
But it really was no
It's like
profound idea.
we've made it so complicated.
Yes.
And as you said, we've made it so regimented that you got to check the box, you got to do this, you've got to do that, and it's like we've positioned or we've created this Wizard of Oz kind of God behind the curtain that if you mess up, then he's going to take a stick and beat you.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's all but that.
Exactly. And they'd never seen it that way. And that broke my heart a little bit, but it gave me peace knowing that, once again, a class that I really did not enjoy was so much bigger picture and led me to an opportunity to shed light on his love and even open their minds to see it in a different way. And I did not, moral of the story, didn't enjoy the class. It just wasn't my ideal class, whatever.
Sure.
But people were coming up to me after saying that was their favorite presentation. And
But I can tell you
a
this.
presentation that was Jesus speaking through me.
Yeah, I got
Nothing
it.
that I did.
I got it. But I can tell you something. Sometimes, Laura, when I feel that I've not done my best on a project, on a message, on a sermon, then the Lord reminds me it's not about you, it's about me. And you are never to get the glory. I'm always to get the glory.
Right.
And even if you touch one person, all of your time spent in class, all of your time studying, all of those burning the midnight oil hours, they would have been worth it.
And that's what I told myself. That was fueling me.
Yeah. So for those that you feel, young people that have lost their way or really confused and aggravated with organized religion, in very simple terms, how would if you had the microphone and you were speaking to every Gen Z in the entire on the entire planet, what would you tell them?
I would just tell them to give it a chance. You never know until you try, and it's a chance that you won't regret.
You're not saying give the Baptist God a chance, the Methodist God a chance, the Catholic God a chance. God, a friend of mine said that God is big enough to handle all of our questions.
Yes.
All of our angst, all of our concerns. But you're saying just turn it over to God.
Just dive in, dip your toes into it, because it will give you a peace that transcends all understanding, and it will give you a joy and a fulfillment that cancels out all of the hardships that life throws at you, because you know you're serving something bigger than our walk on earth. And I think that when you experience that, it's nothing that you want to turn away from. And people will find community in that are chasing after the same thing. And that gives you the tenacity to keep going and keep pursuing what that relationship looks like in your life.
So, you know, Miss Mississippi Volunteers Pageant provides an opportunity for you to give back to the community. And I know you're talking about, you know, driving, young people driving, but I see that you have a direct passion for the Salvation Army. Why that particular platform? Why do you embrace that organization?
Yeah, beyond it being a national partner for us, it's really taken a personal aspect of my life, and it is largely credited to
Because when you walked in, I saw that you had their logo on their lapel.
Yes, it's largely credited to the people that I've met. This year, I did a toy drive with their Angel Tree program. People brought in over $2,000 worth of toys to supply Christmases to families within Mississippi. And I met this little boy named Torrance, who is a part of the after-school program at one of the Salvation Armies. And he was helping us sort through the toys. And he laid eyes on this bike that he loves. He wanted that bike. And you know, little boys, they'll drop those little
absolutely.
Easter eggs. I just love that bike. Oh my gosh, I wish I could have that bike. And what we didn't realize in the moment was that he'd never received a Christmas before. And so we're sitting there telling him, oh, maybe it'll be under your tree for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
You know, everything that you tell a kid when it's 2 weeks prior to Christmas. But meanwhile, he was there helping other kids' Christmas dreams come true, sorting through their toys, organizing what they would have. But little did Torrance know in that moment that he would receive the very bike under his tree for Christmas that he wanted so bad, that he'd never walked down the stairs on Christmas morning to seek gifts under the tree or sat around the tree to open them with his family. And I can't imagine the hope that gave him, that not only was he going to receive the bike that the 8-year-old little boy in him loved, but also hope that he can go on and be a first-generation college student or be that NFL football player, or even go on to open his dream business and then one day come back to serve and give back in a larger capacity than he had when he was that 8-year-old little boy. And it's stories like that that have kept me going, because it's so much bigger than yourself. And it allows children to be children.
You know, the title of this program, and by the way, the Lord gave me the title, Defining Moments. I believe the Lord gives all of us crossroad experiences that we meet with our destiny. We have two choices: to embrace our destiny and live and walk in it, or we can push it back. And that creates a lot of anxiety. Are there defining moments in your life that you can point to say that is the spot, that is the situation, that is the occurrence that made the difference in my life, or that started me on this path?
I think that all of them have in common is obedience, and it's always obedience out of my expectation. I told you earlier that I competed in the Miss Mississippi Volunteer Organization kind of out of rejection. I competed in another organization that I loved and thought that I would walk away with the title, and didn't. And then I had kind of come to my ends. I thought I was going to put a pin in it, right? Because I was aging out of being a teen and I was going into a Miss, but I would be a very young Miss competitor. I'm the youngest. So, you just don't hear of that quite as often. And I was like, nope, I'm done, calling it quits. I was just very defeated in the moment because I didn't see my expectation come to pass. And as a type B, as a control freak, that threw me off a little bit, threw me off my rocker. But I remember getting a call from the executive director, Steve Stockton, and he called me. I was already having a bad day, so it's funny the timing. But he was like, Lauryl, we'd love to have you come compete. You know, he was just giving his spiel, recruitment. He wanted girls to be a part of the opportunities that they're setting out for us. And I had never met him or spoken with him before. And you would have believed I'd known him my entire life, the way that the conversation went. And it was such an honest and vulnerable conversation that typically you wouldn't have with someone that is a little bit important on the first call. And I just remember getting off the phone thinking, even if I don't decide to compete, that's someone that I would want to have in my corner, or want to be my friend, want to be my mentor regardless. And long story short, I was like, okay, I'll pray about it. You know, I'll see, because I believe everything happens on purpose. You know, it wasn't just a mere coincidence that at the perfect time, I answered a random phone number that I never do. And I was praying about it, thinking about it, talking with my mom. Then a couple weeks later, Tammy Caldwell texted me, and she said, "Laura, are you going to compete for Mississippi Volunteer?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm praying about it." And then I sat down. I was like, "Okay, Jesus, like, give me a sign, you know." And I never tipped him like that. I'm not like do signs and wonders. I was like, I just need a little nudge, like a confirmation that I'm in your will, because I wanted to be very intentional with the decisions that I made. And I was like, okay, we'll see. Well, a week later, she texted me, and I had prayed it that day. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And an hour later, I was signed up to compete for Miss Mississippi Volunteer. And it's just so many moments like that that led me to be here, because they were defining, because they challenged me and they pushed me outside of my comfort zone, which everyone knows you don't grow in your comfort zone. And it's even a year ago, I would not have believed that I was merely competing, much less sitting here. And it's the same thing with high school. You know, even after graduation, I was so done. Like, graduation is a bittersweet thing, but I had just walked through my own fair share of things that really pushed me up beyond what I thought I could handle. And it's in those moments of tears, of sitting in your car by yourself, that were defining moments that led here.
You know, you just said a moment ago, and which is very powerful, you said you don't grow in your comfort zones. Mm-hmm. Your comfort zones, they're not comfortable. They're comfortable for you because they're easy, but you don't grow in your comfort zone. For those that are afraid to try, what would you say?
I have taken it very literally, because I want it laid out, pen and paper. I want it to be a straight and narrow path of what I'm supposed to follow.
You're very analytical. You're very methodical.
Yes, I want to see how every little thing's going to line up, what it's going to lead to, possible outcomes. And I took that very literal, because I knew that I couldn't live a full life without stepping outside of my comfort zone. But then again, it's scary. And so after my senior year, because that was a big year for me, I didn't go on a senior trip. I didn't do all the things that typical seniors do.
Sure.
All I wanted to do was go skydiving. So
have you ever skydived?
No, I haven't. And as someone that is scared of heights for the most part, I'm not just going to go up on a super high story or level just for the fun of it. Yes. Sure enough, me and my aunt and my mom went skydiving. And it just shows you, when you do something that is in the physical realm, scary and out of your comfort zone, it shows you how easy it is to do it, because all I had to do is sign up online, show up, and jump off of a platform. And just like that, I was out of my comfort zone. So being able to see how realistic that was in the flesh has showed me mentally, oh, well, all it took was just to sign up here.
Okay, all right. See, I can do this little exercise with you, because I see that you're very sharp. What is the spiritual connotation of what you just said? You just gave the physical application, jumping out of the plane and defying or challenging your own flesh. All right, your own apprehensions. What do you believe the spiritual application of that is?
Saying yes when you don't want to. You know, and maybe it's not that you don't want to. Maybe it's that you don't believe that it can be a yes for you. I think that a large portion of my life has been rooted in what I didn't believe could be my reality, and not only proven to the people that said I couldn't do it that I can, but proven to myself. And it's the outcome of saying yes.
You know, one of my wife's favorite scripture is rooted in the book of Philippians. Says, with man it may be impossible, but not with God.
Yes.
For with God all things are possible unto him that believeth.
Yeah.
And so it is possible. You can accomplish anything if you have faith, because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And if you don't believe it, it will never come to pass. Laura, we're sitting on this set. We're sitting on this podcast television set because I saw it in my heart. And I believe that this is where God wanted the next phase of my ministry. Do I believe it is the destination? No.
Yeah.
But I think it's a part of it. But let me tell you what happened. I shared that with those persons that love me the most. This is what my sister said this years ago. She said, it is not only important that you know who you love, But it's just as important to know who loves you and that they have no ulterior motives.
Yeah.
So those people who loved me, and I knew that they loved me, and by the way, it's a very small circle.
Yes.
Not 15 people, not 20 people. Everybody's my friend.
Yeah.
Jesus had 12 disciples, but he had a small inner circle.
Yes.
I shared my vision of what the Lord had placed inside of me with that inner circle. And as a result, these people that are behind the scenes right now, those are the ones that believed in what the Lord had placed inside of me. My family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren, my mother, my sisters, my brothers, and other very, very close friends that we've been walking together, Chilton Skelly's, the Ed Trim, the Oscar Muskelly's, the Kyle Reno. I can just go on and on and on. So don't think, for those that are listening and for those that are watching and for those that are viewing, don't think. You may think that what God has put in your heart is too big for you. It is. But God has placed those people around you that will help accomplish what he has placed inside of your heart to accomplish. Moses said to God, you want me to go to Pharaoh? I'm like Larry. I stutter. I can't even talk right. God says, I got that handle. Whatever you're confronted with, whatever you're faced with, and you believe it is so overwhelming that you're incapable, or you don't have the skill set or capacity to deal with it, give it to God. He'll put those people around you that believe in you and that see what's inside of you to help you accomplish it. And basically that's what you're saying, that you had to challenge your doubt with faith.
And Jesus is so gentle and kind, because I think that I had it in my head that before I could say yes, I already needed those people, or I already needed that community. And I am fortunate. I come from a very supportive family and community that backs me, people that I've gone to church with, my entire life, that have been aunts and uncles to me forever, and so supportive and encouraging. But they can serve a season or outlet of my life. That's good. My mom doesn't know how to coach volleyball. Everyone has their forte. But in me stepping into this realm of pageantry and my involvement in the Miss Mississippi Volunteer Organization, it was out of those yeses that I gained community.
It is out of those yeses that you gain community. Not out of your nose, not out of your apprehensions, not out of your doubt, but out of your yeses. Jesus says, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone would open the door, I would come in. In other words, if you would say yes.
Yeah.
Jesus is a gentleman. He's not, the Holy Spirit is a gentleman. He's not going to barge in.
No, he isn't.
He's not going to barge in, and he's not going to kick the door down. He has the capacity to.
Yeah.
But you said he's very gentle.
Isn't that so kind of him? Because he could do that. And I think that if people just grasp that reality, that he does knock. He does wait. He's wiping his feet off at the doormat before he walks in your house for you to open the door. And that's the difference with Christianity to other religions, because it isn't that religion of I'm this higher power, I'm this superior complex. It's this relationship of love, and he stands at that door and knocks because it's your decision. And if people grasp that, I know that so many more people would be open to all that a relationship with Jesus looks like.
All right, so listen, let's peel the onion back. Let's go behind the scenes. The week of competition, leading up to the competition, day of competition. How do you, this gentle soul, this faithful being, how do you deal with the not so gentle spirits and those contestants who are motivated and don't necessarily believe like you do, and they're not as nice and as kind. They're very distracting and very cutthroat. And how do you deal with that?
I think it comes with the circumstances, right? But I do my best I think that you attract what you are. And so if I can be the kind of person that I want in a friend, or someone that I can be, someone that I want to be by my side throughout the competition week, I've seen that bear fruit in the past, and am hopeful for in the future, because that naturally comes with it, and we need those personalities because the world would be boring if we didn't have them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yes,
that's good.
But just making, very careful selections of who I surround myself with, and understanding that largely it's a reflection of them and not me. And I'm there for more than a crown. I'm there for the experience.
That's good.
And the people that I can make friends with and love and learn from throughout the week. And just knowing it's so much bigger picture than a crown. Right. This lasts a year, but the lessons last a lifetime.
For a lifetime.
And that sounds cliche, but it's so real.
It is so true. I said this, and I wasn't the originator of this thought. Someone shared it with me several years ago, that the purpose of sandpaper is to smooth the surface.
Yeah.
And so maybe the Lord allow other people to come into our lives to smooth us out, to perfect our faith, to cause us to grow closer to Him. And so, what's next? What you Miss Mississippi Volunteer? Is there a next step? Is there a next level? Or what's next?
So I ask myself that a lot, but I'll compete for Miss Volunteer America this summer.
Oh, wow.
In just a couple weeks. Yes. 4 or 5 weeks.
So you will compete for Miss
Volunteer America. Yes, all other 50
good
states.
Luck.
Thank you. So I am knee deep in preparing for that right now.
Bet.
Yes, but it's so exciting. And
this is in June.
Yes,
Where?
June. In Jackson, Tennessee.
In Jackson, Tennessee.
And
as
then
I mentioned
2
earlier.
weeks after that, I will crown the next Miss Mississippi Volunteer.
Oh, you're gonna have a busy summer.
Yes, whirlwind.
So how do you prepare for the next pageant?
Well, so I said we compete in those 4 different phases of competition. So I'm largely in the gym, lots, putting the athleticism and hard work back to use.
That's right.
And then I dance as my talent.
Okay.
So I'm in the studio a lot for that. Evening gown, so a little bit of walking here and there, trying on dresses, lots of trial and error, and then interview. And I mean, of course, I do mock interviews and different interview lessons with coaches, but this is as much of a learning lesson as our designated interview lesson is.
Okay.
So
I'll
it really
grade your
is.
nay.
It
I'll
really
grade your
is.
nay right
Okay,
now.
there we go.
Yeah.
So it really is those everyday experiences that prepare me, and I'm just grateful that I have the time and the people that give me the space to completely prepare.
Sure.
Yeah, because so much of it is mental as well.
So post pageant life.
Yeah.
Post college. What's your preferred career?
Right now,
I think I have a little sneaky insight on that.
right now I want to go into sports broadcasting.
Oh.
So I grew up a volleyball player, and then I cheered on the sidelines. My brother has played every sport under the sun, and then I could talk to a brick wall. So
You played volleyball.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the height for it.
I do have the height.
Yeah. What position did you?
I was an outside hitter.
Oh man.
I love that little corner.
Yeah.
Stick to my corner.
Yeah. I got it.
Everybody else can come to me.
I got
I'll
it.
do the
I
least
got it.
amount of moving.
But your desired profession is sports, broadcast sports.
Yes. So I just also am a storyteller. That's a large portion of why I love interview.
Yes.
Because you're just telling your story and what makes you you. And a lot of that is sideline reporting. You're telling the stories of the athletes that have gotten to the field and what has gotten them to the field. So I love that realm of it. There's so many lessons in it, and we'll see what else comes with that. I also have a minor in marketing, so I love all things social media, different campaigns. I think that could play a large role in my life, but I get nervous to say what I want to do because so much of my life has been outside of expectation. Like a year ago, wouldn't have known that I would be sitting here at all.
Yeah.
And so
A
really
year ago,
just
I
leaning
wouldn't
into
have known
that
that you would be
obedience.
sitting here.
And look at us, we'll be locked in for life now.
I'll remember you say that. Because I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in incidents. I believe in divine providence.
Yes.
And there's a reason that I met you through one of your mentors, which is a friend, is a college friend of mine's, Arlette. She and I went to to college together, and so God has a way of weaving us together if you would only listen. So when you take a look at that crown, and thank you, Kim, for that wonderful, beautiful display. When you take a look at that crown and that sash, what goes through your mind?
I've thought about what a legacy looks like a lot, because a lot of that is rooted around other people's perception of you or what encounters that they've had. But I hope that it just leaves integrity.
Yeah.
You know, someone that didn't do it to check the boxes or get the good social media posts, but someone that did it because it was bigger than herself.
Yes, that's good.
And outside of what it could give me to gain. So I hope that that is what people see. I hope that it's genuine and it's real, and it shows people not that they want to be Lauryl, but that they can do and accomplish their goals like Lauryl tried to do and is working to do. I hope that that is what they see, and I hope that I just continue to live it out.
If you were to leave a lasting impression or people to know you by, and I have a sneaky suspicion that you're going to be on a national broadcast. Whether sidelines or studio,
Yeah.
you're going to be on that. I believe that I can see it.
Thank
and
you.
anything that I can do to help, I'm going to do that.
Thank you.
Lasting words. If you would want someone to remember you by,
Yeah.
what would it be?
I think choosing a life of fulfillment over fillers really has shaped the entirety of my life, because I could have chosen, you know, that short-term fulfillment of following my friends to college, or that short-term fulfillment of saying no to competing in this pageant organization because that's not what I wanted to do in the moment.
Yeah.
Or I could have said no to job opportunities that have opened, but I didn't, because there was a fulfillment out there. And regardless of if it's what I wanted to do in the moment, it's what I needed to do to live out God's calling. And that is evident in all that I do and all that I hope to do. And it's something that takes place in everyone's lives.
Great. Well, Lauryl Joyner, you have been a wonderful inaugural guest.
Woo!
First launch guest on Defining Moments podcast with Larry Nix. Will you come back?
Yes.
All right. Listen, you heard it. Thank you for joining us. And listen, I want to tell you, our next week's guest is Derek D. Carter Sr. He wrote a book, A Lifetime of Testimonies, Miracles, Visions, Signs, and Dreams. Derek Carter, you're going to want to watch this program because he was in a coma for 8 months, woke up out of the coma, and he chronicled his life and how God has worked through his life. Thank you for joining us. You can join our radio program as well every Tuesday and Thursday from 11 to 12, 104.3 in the Jackson metropolitan area, and of course on Spotify, Pandora, and all of the other platforms. Thank you for joining us. Laura, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All
I
right.
so appreciate it.
All right. I'll see you next week on Defining Moments with Larry Nix, the podcast.